Because you know what? It's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. And we will have Miss Kenya Crawford Walker coming in shortly in just a few. But today we're going to talk about how can we heal the division among us? How can we heal the division amongst us? So we're going to talk about that today, and we invite your comments and your input. If you desire to call in, we have a call-in number. That call-in number is 662-328-1052 or 662-328-1050. Because so many times we focus in on the negative side of the things we've been through or things we have experienced. But how do we move on from here? I'm going to talk about that today. So good morning to you. It's good to be back with you. It's good to be alive today. Yes, it is. It's great to be alive and in our right mind. And we are here for such a time as this. We are here for such a time as this. Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be back with you. Miss Walker will be here shortly. We're going to talk about some things today, and we welcome your comments, even questions, if you have any questions. And if you have some questions today, the number to call is 662-328-1052. But any questions or comments, that same number, questions or comment at 662-328-1052. Ms. Crawford has a wealth of information that she shares with us, and we are blessed for her to come and share of her experience, years of education and counseling and training. So we're fortunate that she can be with us today. But before we get into what we're going to talk about, I do want to share something from the Little Brown Book. The Little Brown Book. And the reading for today says, fear makes the wolf bigger than he is. Fear makes the wolf bigger than he is. Many times things are magnified worse than what they really are. But you know what? We got the power to make it smaller and smaller until it's not there anymore. Fear makes the wolf bigger than he actually is. But Proverbs 27:3 says, through a mighty man marches against me, though a mighty man marches against me, my heart shall know no fear. I am confident that God will save me. Confident in that. And you know what? It's good to live in confidence. That's the best way to live in confidence. We're going to go ahead and get ready to talk about what we're going to talk about. Ms. Walker will be here shortly. The thought is, how can we cure the division among some of us? Everybody's not walking in the division, but some are. We have to be realistic. How can we cure the division that is amongst us? Because we are more powerful when we're in unity, when we get things done together. Nothing would be impossible for us. There's a scripture in the Bible, I believe it's Genesis chapter 11, where they were trying to build a tower to heaven. And you know what? They were so powerful, and they was on their way to building it. And the Lord had to go down and confound their language because they were so together. And it's good when we can be together in one voice, one mind, and having a mind to build. That is so honorable. When we have one mind and focus on the unity part of us rather than the negative side. Because you know what? If we focus in on the negative, that's what we're going to have. The negative. And sometimes people fall out and they never bring it back together. And sometimes there's a divine purpose in the relationship. But because pride sets in sometimes, nobody wants to reach across the lines. And the pride can keep us separated many times. So good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. So we're going to talk about that today. How can we bridge the gap of the division, especially among African Americans? Especially among African Americans. How can we bridge the gap? We're actually talking about all people, but especially amongst African Americans. Because there seems to be, I say seems to be, I didn't say it was now. I said it seems to be one of our weak areas of building together, working in together in unity. They don't necessarily say it is true. I said sometimes it seems like that is a part that we need to work on, the unity part of us. So we're going to talk about that today. And when people are unified, they really can go somewhere. They can get more accomplished. Someone said that teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. So we're going to talk about that today. The division and the unity. The division and the unity. Because so many times we blame others for where we are right now. We cannot do anything about the past. We talk about it. We get healing from it. But we cannot live there. We got to know how to move forward. Teaching our children how to get a better education, how to be and do better. Someone said that this generation might not do as well as the previous generation. Saying that this generations might not do as well as the previous generation. So we're going to ask Ms. Walker about the statistics on that or the research on that to see if that is heading in that direction, that this generation might not do as well as the previous generation. So I believe she's on her way. She's in the building right now. So good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing well.
Good. Great.
It's good to have you again. And I was sharing with our radio listener some things about how can we heal the division amongst us, especially the African American race.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was saying that we really have many answers within our own self, but sometimes we look for other people to fix us.
Mm-hmm.
That we look for other races or other groups to fix us.
Yes, ma'am.
But we got to try to fix ourselves.
That's right.
So good morning to you. I hope that you are not rushing too much.
No, trying to get here. I had so many things going on this morning. Right as I was waking. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. That division amongst us is something serious.
It is.
It's so deeply ingrained and rooted that it's gonna take all of us doing some personal individual work to make some changes within ourselves, regarding the way we think, the way we feel about things, in order for us to come together as a people, and be as one unit.
And like you said, your mind out thinking, to think future. I think sometimes we think too much in the past to think future. Of course, we deal with the past. We have to get healed from it. And sometimes it's a continuation. It's a continuing thing. But not to focus all of our energy looking back, but to focus more of our energy looking forward, helping our young people, helping to develop them, encouraging them to get a good education, because some say we have to do double what some others do.
That's true. We have to work twice as hard. I learned even from personal experience. It doesn't matter how many degrees we have, how much education we have, we still have to work twice as hard, to compete in education, when it comes to finances, when it comes to healthcare, in every major area of our life. We as Black people have to work twice as hard, because it's like the world insists on seeing us as less than. That because of the color of our skin, we don't amount to anything, or we don't know much. And that's a lie, because there are numerous accounts throughout history, since the beginning of our existence, that we have proven ourselves to be an intelligent people, a resourceful people, people who know how to make something completely out of nothing. God truly did make us as Black people in his image.
Of course.
That's why we have so many inventors of African descent. Most of the luxuries that we enjoy in life now today were created and invented by African American inventors. Most of the patents were stolen from them by the majority group, but nonetheless, they did create a lot of the inventions that we enjoy today.
Yeah, and then the thing is, you're saying about how others see us, but how do we really see ourselves? How do we see ourselves? I was listening to someone else, and they were saying a lot of times we have low race esteem. Low race esteem. And when you have low race esteem, you don't see yourself growing and flourishing. Or you see others that are in the African American, you're in there yourself, but you're looking down on your own race. Now, if we do that, we're not a help to ourselves nor to anybody else.
That's right. We're not. We're not a help to anybody else. A lot of the things that we deal with mentally and emotionally that causes us to behave in certain manners comes from trauma, issues with low self-esteem. Personally, if we have low self-esteem about ourselves, our own selves, then collectively, we're not going to esteem our race of people as high as we should. I have seen it, been an eyewitness to maltreatment of other African Americans by African Americans. Say, for instance, we'll be in a store, and you might see, let's say, a white counterpart. It's like the white counterpart is greeted with respect. Hello, hey, how you doing? But sometimes your own kind won't even greet you. And it's because we have been trained systematically over 400 and some odd years to respect our white counterparts, but disrespect each other.
But we are the only one that can do something about that.
Exactly.
We are the only one that can do something about that.
Exactly. And we should. We should, but it's going to start with us developing and increasing our own personal self-worth and self-esteem. See, if I don't care anything about me, I'm not going to care anything about the next person. If my relationship is not right with myself, if I don't like me, it's going to be hard for me to like you.
Wow. So it's how we see ourselves. And I heard father told his daughter, he told her she was running track. He told her, stay focused, don't look back, keep on moving.
Mm-hmm.
Stay focused, don't look back, keep on moving.
Mm-hmm.
We got to have a goal in front of us to reach. And bettering ourselves is going to heal some of the division among us. It's not like some individual get it and make it, and they're going to tell you got to make it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's those that reach back and help others to come up.
Yes.
That's going to propel us forward.
Exactly. And we should respect each other, and yes, and pull each other up. If I come up, I want to pull you up with me. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, don't try and use me. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't try and take advantage of each other,
or try to hold someone else back.
Exactly.
I got mine. I'm the one, or mm-hmm. I'm better than you, and all of that. No. Mm-hmm. We are better together. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. One thing I've noticed about our people in the olden days, even let's say when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, you didn't have to know a person to say good morning, hello, how are you? Mm-hmm. You might not carry on a conversation with them because you don't know them, but just simple walking into a room and you saying hello, good morning. Now people look at you crazy. Mm-hmm. When you say hello, how are you, and they don't know you, they look at you funny. You don't have to know anything about me in order to speak back.
Do we teach our children to speak and greet people? A smile doesn't mm-hmm. hurt anybody. If you pass mm-hmm. someone, just give them a brief smile or whatever. Because mm-hmm. they have a saying that when you smile, the world smiles with you. When you frown, nobody wants to be around.
Right.
So are we losing some of that hospitality?
Yes, ma'am. I feel that we have lost most of it. Because, see, that comes from teaching. See, when people aren't teaching their children like they're supposed to. See, that has to be taught. See, growing up, if I walked into a room full of people and I didn't speak, my mama would look at me and ask me, what's wrong with you? You crazy? Mm-hmm. You don't walk into no room and don't speak. These people hadn't done anything to you. Mm-hmm. See, that comes from being taught, saying thank you. I appreciate you.
Is that because we're having more younger parents that have not been taught those?
That's right. They hadn't been taught nothing. So they can't teach anything.
Wow. And some of that can lead to disrespect. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, people would not curse mm-hmm. in the front of older people. Now, sometimes you see that. Mm-hmm. Cursing and not respecting. So, in essence, we might have lost some of our respect and self-respect as well. Because mm-hmm. when you do that openly, sometimes you're not respecting yourself, mm-hmm. knowing who you are.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
I said it's so important to know who you are, because Satan takes advantage of us when we don't know who we are. You can be a king or a queen, and if you don't know that, the enemy can get all your goods. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. They sure can. We've got to do better as a people, because nobody's going to take care of us except for us. We have got to get to the point where we got to stop expecting the rest of the world to be good to us, to be loving to us, to be kind to us, to do for us. Yes, if other people in the world want to help, yes, that's great, but don't expect it. Be willing to help each other. Be willing to lift each other up. Be willing to be kind and love each other.
And respect your race of people.
Yes.
Like James Brown said back in the day, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. We're not saying we're more than anybody else or anything like that, mm-hmm. but we are certainly not less mm-hmm. than anybody else. God made us who he wanted us to be. We didn't make ourselves. Each of us was divinely made mm-hmm. by him.
It's true.
And just because we are black, hey, we're not less. We're not less. The Bible's, well, not the Bible, but Dr. Martin Luther King said, don't judge a man by the color of his skin, but by the content
of his character.
Of his character. Yeah.
It's true. You know, the Lord revealed to me about 10 years ago. He revealed to me that every culture, every ethnic group, every race, and every nationality, and those are 4 different things. Every nationality has some foolishness attached to it. From, bloodline curses to world and cultural influences that have set the tone for how they conduct themselves. And Pastor Prince, he was a deliverance pastor and a what was he also? He was a pastor over in Great Britain. I forget his first name. He was an older guy. He's been deceased for many years now. He confirmed it. He made an itemized list of everything that was wrong with every race and culture and nationality and ethnic group in this world. And it was true, because God had already revealed that the issues with each culture to me, and he came along, and what he did was he confirmed it. He says with the African American race, he says he keeps seeing the residue of slavery all over us, even to the present day. He said we become enslaved to stuff easily. It's like we jump in with both hands and feet without giving it some thought. He said we're always being in bondage to something.
And we can see that even in the area of consumerism. It's like we love to buy things, but how much are we really producing? Instead of consuming all the time. How much are we really producing? I was listening to Mr. Bridges again, and he was talking about the major on the front line. We don't produce a lot.
We don't. Not financially and economically.
We got, maybe a few mom and pop stores, but on the national scale, we're not producing a lot, but we're some of the top consumers.
Yes.
Is that a fear, or do we not have the resources to get out there?
Lack of resources, fear, and low self-worth. Those 3 factors.
But we need to own our own homes, our own cars, our own businesses. And we have to use our head, I believe, more so than our bodies.
That's right.
Using our head to think and grow in our mind and maturing and advancing ourselves.
That's true.
So that starts with getting a good education. And more importantly, having the Lord in your life. Having him number one will give you the greatest advantage that you can have. Now, it should start there and move forward. And sometimes that's part of the problem. We don't have the Lord Jesus Christ in his right place.
That's right.
And that puts us at a disadvantage. Some of our foreparents, they didn't have a whole lot, but they had prayer. They were spiritual. They might not have had everything that they wanted, but they still they knew how to call on the name of Jesus.
It's true. They knew how to call on his name. When I go back in the history and I read and I study, look like we were more together in the past than we are now. It's like the Lord has blessed us beyond our ancestors' wildest dreams. We are actually our ancestors' wildest dreams. And it's like we've forgotten about him in a sense. We've gotten besides ourselves. We've become we're not thankful the way our ancestors were. And that has further driven us apart. That's called further issues with unity.
Good morning, Marcella,
Morning.
Sister Harrison, Candy, whoever else is on. But we need to try to work on this bridge of division, and that's really one of the things that hinder us, especially in the African American race. Look like we have it really worse than some of the other races. Would you not say?
I believe so. I would say economically, especially economically, and when it comes to resources. And you know what the number one reason is for that lack of resources financially? That came from the breakdown of the African American family. That marriage rate is like what, 33, 34%?
Somewhere along in there.
When you don't have a solid, stable family, where you have two parents that's running a household, it limits your earning potential. Most of the wealthiest people in this world are people who are married and have produced families.
Yeah, because you think about it, that's a double income. If you by yourself, you only got one income more than likely coming in, and that creates struggle in the family, and sometimes it affects the children because the parent trying to go out and work. So it's better when you have that two-parent home. Not saying you can't make it in a one-parent home, but you don't look like you don't have as many challenges. And that's God's way. That's the main thing. That's God's way. And you know, everybody might not make it in their marriages. You know, we have to still move on.
It's true.
Yeah, you cannot stop there because some have done well.
That's right.
In spite of, but the picture, the greatest picture would be what the Lord says. But you know, in spite of, have to keep on moving because things happen. And if God be for us, who can be against us? I thank God that for the blessedness of a family.
That's right. I thank God for it. And you know, I came from a two-parent home.
I did too.
You know, and I saw, you know, no marriage is perfect, but I had a chance to see how a family is supposed to flow. I saw my mom and dad working as a team, you know, to make sure we had everything we needed. You know, if one got laid off, the other one stepped up to the plate to balance things out until we got back to flowing the way we were. You know, and I think because I came from a two-parent home, I was able to take hold of opportunities, like getting an education, a college education. You know, and I'm not saying every person that comes from a single parent home doesn't have that opportunity to get an education. But what it does is it makes it harder because the cost of that, of sending that child to school, even with student loans and grants, falls on that one parent. And to me, it's not fair because that one parent didn't make that baby by themselves.
And it's good when that other parent, even though if the couple are not together, to make sure that child have what they need, even if they didn't make it, you know, still make sure that child can make it, you know, by support, by doing what each parent needs to do to have the best interest of the child in mind. Yeah, and it's good, you know, when your children can see you working together. I remember one of my friends told me that when her parents got a divorce, it said it looked like it affected her more than it did her mom.
Because it rocked her sense of safety and security.
So the stability of the family is very important because when the family goes, society goes. So God ordained it. There's nothing we can disdain about family because He ordained it.
That's right. He intended for a man to have a wife and them to produce children.
And many times that's where the division starts, in the family. Many times the division starts in the family And then now it goes out into society and start affecting nations. They said the Indians, the country of India, they have the highest percentage of marriages. And they are some of the richest people on the face of the earth.
Yes, they are. They are very wealthy. Second to the Jewish nation.
Wow. Good morning, Lashana. Recently married.
Congratulations.
Maybe 3 or 4 months now.
All right.
But that marriage, you can really go somewhere when you're unified in your marriage. You can build wealth together. If the married couple would get on one accord, that's a powerful entity right there.
Right there. Working as a team. You know, my husband and I work as a team. We work as a team to make sure our household is secure and the grandchildren have what they need. You know, we do that because we know, first of all, it's good for your mental health to have that stability. Not having to worry about how you're going to do this and how you're going to get that done financially or economically. You can't have one person working against the other, or the whole household will fall. You won't ever grow financially and economically if you got one person spending everything and the other person is saving. Fast as this person puts money back, the other person spend it. You'll never get anywhere. Your family will not grow. You won't ever own anything. You know, I know people right now, and everybody's situation, you know, is unique, and I understand that. But what I do not understand is when I see people renting houses, renting in their 50s and 60s.
Or live a lifetime renting. You know, it's good to own your own place. And that was one thing my daddy taught me. He said, own your own house, your own land. Nobody can take that away from you. And don't put it back into get another loan on it. Let it stay free. So it's good to own your own rather than, when I know some people love to rent, and we're not disdaining that. That's up to you. But I believe just being on your own and on your own, you'll have a better advantage. Can't nobody take that away from you.
That's right.
And you don't have to pay rent all of your life.
You don't have to. There are home ownership programs, grant programs for first-time home buyers. What's the, is it FHA? FHA is one of those programs that can help you if you are a first-time home buyer. All you need is a credit score of 620 to buy a home and be able to prove what your monthly income is. All they want to know is if you have a 620 credit score and you're able to meet that mortgage each month. If you can pay $600, $700, $800, $900 to $1,500 in rent, that will get you a nice size house in Columbus, Mississippi. That's at least 2,500 square feet right there.
And you end up saving money.
And you
end up, because if you rent, that is something you will never own.
Exactly.
You will never own it.
You will never own it. You put money in somebody else's pocket.
Good morning, caller WTWG.
Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, listen, in reference to the home buying, oftentimes people will rent when their parents didn't own their own home. Very seldom you'll find people who their parents own their own home will be renters for a long time. Now, surely when you first start off, you may have to be a renter, but when you get around 45, the 40s and 50s, and you're working consistently, you must be working consistently at your own home. And a lot of times that depends on your education level. And my thing is, I urge every young person out there who's listening, every parent who's listening, in this country, it is run by politicians, by politics, nothing else. We have a different religion, a different belief, but politics run the country. But the basics for all politicians education. And that's what African Americans, more so than any other people, need to focus on. And I think we do less. And I think it has a lot to do with our foreparents. Many of them, particularly older people, African Americans, didn't have a good education, so many of them don't push education. But the one thing for African American youngsters or black people, whatever you call them, I call them African Americans, to be successful in the future, you must get that good background in elementary education, first grade, second grade. And I know our kids like to play basketball. We think about the best basketball player making $1 million. But do you know it takes 8 or 10 other people to make that one person a good basketball player? And oftentimes the other 10 either drop out of high school or don't get a good education, and then one goes on to make millions of dollars. But no matter what they play, no matter what your children play or what they participate in school, the most important things are those academics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that's just my opinion.
All right, then, Mr. Robert, we appreciate your thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robert.
Yes, ma'am. You all have a great day. All right, listen the rest of the way.
Yes,
all
sir.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
And you know, that's true. You know,
that is true.
Having a good education. And sometimes we don't push that enough. Sometimes we let our children just settle for average when they can do a whole lot more.
A whole lot more. And, you know, I understand that junior college and four-year university is not for everybody. But you have schools that teach skills and trades, which is what's in now, because there's over 2 million, I think it's 2.5 million or either 3.5 million jobs in the U.S. alone that require some kind of trade or skills, but it's not enough people with those particular skills to fill those positions. You know, and you can still make 6 figures or more, you know, just as much as a person with a college education.
Right. The thought is seek to grow. Just don't settle and limit yourself. Whatever field you're in, seek to excel. You know, you can maybe go up and go into the office part of that, of what you started off in. Seek to excel if you desire to. I think we should always want to grow, always strive to grow, not just tap out and settle.
Yes.
Because sometimes we can get so comfortable and settle right there when we have a whole lot more potential.
Yes.
And we was talking about owning a home earlier, but to have your own land is so imperative, because you think about it, the land will never go anywhere. The land will always be here. Let me read this from Mary Lane. She says, I totally agree. I bought my home in 1992. It was 2025, no mortgage.
Wow.
My loan was never on it. If my no loan was never on it, I was the second person to own a home with just one Black living there in that neighborhood in Brooksville.
This is good.
That's good.
That's good. The thing that comes with home ownership too is that's actually a source of finances, really. Because if you ever sell it and there is no mortgage to be paid, every cent of that appraisal of what that home is worth goes into your pocket. And you know, a home will build equity in it. The value of it, if you keep it upright, more than likely the value of it's going to go up. That's right. Whereas on some other buildings or whatever, it begins to depreciate. That's right. But the value of a home will go up over the years. So a home is one of the greatest investment we can make. Yes, it is. Rather than even a car. If we driving in a real nice car and don't own our home, now where is the wisdom in that? It's not. The young people said they call it hood rich. They call it hood rich because it's like putting a cart before the horse. You know, your car should never be worth more than the house you stay in. Let's say you own, let's say a Lexus 550, but you're staying in a mobile home. Nothing wrong with a mobile home. I'm just showing you how the car is worth more than the home. technically they both depreciate over time. A mobile home depreciates just like a car because it's mobile. It can be moved. It's not a stable fixture.
Mm-hmm.
And so it depreciates just like a car.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't ever own let's say a house that's worth $150,000, but my vehicle, let's say, is worth $260,000.
Wow. Because you're going to spend most of your time at home.
Exactly.
So you want to invest the majority of your money in your home.
Yes.
You know, and it might be okay to start off with a mobile home, but have the intentions of owning something that's solid.
Yes, something that's solid.
Because you can rent the mobile home out.
That's right. You can rent that mobile home out or sell it and then use that to help you pay for your mortgage.
Because me and my husband, we started off in a mobile home. But as the family began to grow, we had to get a house. We had to buy a home.
Yes.
And I never did just want to, just stay right there where I was. So we had to expand. So we bought some land and built the house. So we ought to want to own some land too.
Yeah.
The land is never going anywhere. To own a piece of it now, because land is very valuable. You got people on outside of our country trying to come in and buy our land.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard about that.
China. Yeah. Got some of our land. And I think one of the presidents stopped them from buying land over here.
I hope so. Because what business do they have coming over here buying land in the U.S. for what?
Because they know the value of it, though.
Yes, they know the value of it. And who is stupid enough to sell them some land that's going to come back to haunt us later?
But you got some people still out for money. If the price is right, some people don't care.
Isn't that something? That's going to be a problem later. We already owe China money. And then you let them buy land. That means they're going to take over ownership of the U.S. in some way, shape, fashion, or form later on.
I think President Biden stopped them. Somebody stopped them from buying land over here, because if a person sell out the land, they can sell the land and move into another country. They live in somewhere else. And they sold the land over here. Some people, money talks for some people. Good morning. So we had to want on a piece of the rock.
Yeah. That land needs to be bought back by people who are from U.S. soil.
But if they sold it legitimately, I don't know how they would get it back.
They would have to offer them a higher price to buy it back than what they offered them when China first bought.
Because even with TikTok now, because it's in the United States, the United States is trying to become part ownership of that. When you're in another person's country. So it's good to own your own home, your own land, your own car, to pay it off.
I had to cut that again. God, and my God, God didn't give anybody title to a deed. In other words, this land here was occupied before Europeans who brought us here. When the world was made, I don't believe God said to anybody, "This is your land." I think it's where you were born, is where you called home. But I didn't. This land was my grandmother's or my mother's. We bought it, But again, I think people in the world have a right to go to anywhere on earth if they don't have a criminal record and be able to buy land. As I said before, the Europeans sell it to us, but it wasn't theirs either. So that's realistic, And when they came here, they took it. They occupied it from the people they called Indians. They didn't have a deed to it. God didn't give anybody a deed that this is your part of the land. We all bought it from someone else who owned it, and oftentimes who didn't gain it fairly. They gained it through oppression and taking it. The Europeans came here, I imagine, China went and took that. I don't know what happened there. They were born there, but the Europe, this is not native land of the Europeans, but they sold it to us. I know that sounds ugly, but think about it. Y'all have a great day. I'm sorry, but I had to intervene there because I know that this land is, the Indians say the Europeans are the white people, are occupiers here in the Western Hemisphere because they only been here a few hundred years. They weren't here. They were born in Europe. That's why they're called Europeans. And they named the most intelligent one went to the north and they named that New England because they were from England. And the most silliest, and there were some good ones who came south. There were some good Europeans who came south. Many of them were exiled here, and many of them came looking for work. But the reason why we have such a problem in the South with African Americans then, because those were the least educated in the South, and they still are, the Europeans. Just the African Americans are least educated in the South. That's just a thought. Y'all have a great day. I'm sorry to break in.
All right then, Mr. Robert.
I hear what you're saying, Mr. Robert, but it is asinine to sell pieces of U.S. soil to a country that has a communist government, especially in today's political and cultural climate. That makes no logical sense to me. Whoever sold them that land has to be, I think, the biggest fool in the world, because you do not sell U.S. soil to a country that is under a communist government. Why would you do that? You can't leave from over here in a democracy and go buy land in a country, in another country. You try and buy land over there and see how far you get. That makes no sense. When people desire money and they are greedy, they will sell their soul. And everybody else will be caught up in it. There is not a reason in this world that makes logical sense as to why you would sell a piece of U.S. soil to to people who belong to a communist country. What for? There is something brewing that they are cooking up to use against us later.
I don't even know how that happened.
Me either. It doesn't make sense.
I don't even know how that happened. But you know, as African American, we need to know how to hold on to our land. Sometimes foreparents have worked for years and occupied some land, and then it passed on down to the younger generation. They won't even pay taxes on it, and end up losing the land.
Yes, I see that happen all the time.
Because they don't know the value.
They don't know the value of
what they have.
The taxes might be $1,000 or $2,000. And then the taxes don't get paid. Somebody white from across town go downtown and find it out, or somebody from the chancery clerk office somewhere call them folks and tell them these folks hadn't paid these taxes. Do you want to get in on this? The next thing you know, a whole generation has lost land that's been in their family for 200 or 300 years.
Wow, we need to pay our taxes. Have good insurance. Don't just leave this life and leave that bill on somebody else by not having insurance. One young man said he didn't want to have any insurance because he didn't want to leave nothing to nobody else. Sometimes our mindset got to change. Got to change. That we leave that on somebody else. And we have all the lifetime to work and acquire land, to have insurance, to save some money, to try to have better families. Sometimes our mentality got to change. You know? What's your thought on that?
I agree with you. Totally.
Good morning, caller, WTWG. Hold on, Miss Robert. Your phone is messing up now. I don't know what's going on with the phone now, but it has started to mess up. But as people, we got to use some wisdom. Some wisdom of who we are doing, who we are, what we are capable of doing, and move forward, get some good education, like Mr. Robert was stating, and help our other young people to come up, speak into their lives. You know, I was working on a job one time, and this young man said to me, I see more in you than this place right here. I was working at Sanderson Plumbing at that time. And do you know, I went back and got my degree in communications.
All right.
That thought provoked me, you know, and we can provoke others. That I see more in you. You got more potential than this.
That's right.
So we sometimes we need those pushers, those encouragers, or those mentors to help us to go up.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
Yes, because that's how we're going to recover a lot that we have lost, or by knowing who we are spiritually first. We need to know who we are spiritually.
That's right.
We can identify ourselves many times in the worldly system of what I got, or, you know, pride sets in. But do we know who we are spiritually? Do we know who God created us to be? Do we know that we have dominion in the earth? Do we know that we can conquer and overcome? Do we really know who we are when it comes to our spiritual identity?
That's questionable. You know, I don't, collectively, I don't think so. And I think those of us that do know who we are, that's only because we have a relationship, an intimate relationship with the Lord. But collectively, no, we don't. Because you can see as time progresses, the things that our people are plagued with. You know, how we conduct ourselves, the things that we become in bondage to. You know, the repeat of these generation and cultural curses. Collectively, I don't think so. Not so much, but more or less on the individual level. But collectively, it takes all of us, or most of us rather, to figure out who we are.
Do you think we're doing a good job reaching back and trying to help others come up to know who they are?
No, I do not. I do not. We're not enough, rather. We're not doing enough of that.
To know that we are made in God's image. We were created to rule in the earth. That the enemy should not be running us. We should be running the enemy, because we were made to have dominion over him. God gave us dominion back in the Garden of Eden, and he gave it to the man and the woman.
Yes, he did.
He just didn't give it to the man. He gave it to them both. He said, now you rule, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl, over the air, over every creeping thing. I've given you the dominion. You know, for you to rule, for you to walk in authority, for you not to belittle yourself, but to walk in the confidence of who the Lord made us to be. You know?
Yes, ma'am.
That you're not superior nor inferior. You're just who God made you to be.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
We got a few more minutes and we got to get out of here because Elder Mitch is up next. But we're going to get ready to start winding it down. We got about 4 minutes. But Marcella said, I agree. I don't think we've come together as a race to help each other. It's the enemy who keeps us divided. And how can we get him out, though? How can we get the enemy out? What we got to do?
Develop a relationship with the Lord and see each other as worthy. See ourselves as worthy. If it starts with us individually. If we see ourselves as worthy, we'll see each other as worthy. And then that will make for a unified people.
Do you think we are selfish by nature?
Yes.
Now, how is this hurting us?
That's the sole reason of it. Selfishness. You know, I got it on my own. You need to get it on your own. But what if I don't know how to get it on my own? What if I don't know what you know? What if I don't have the resources you have? What if I don't have the opportunities that you've had?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get it on my own? I wouldn't know what direction to go in.
Mm-hmm. Because